Hello again, this is Victor James, author of that new book in the megacosm called The Narikomin that is available wherever books are sold, so get your copy now. Rarely, and I do mean rarely, does the sequel surpass its cult classic original. The Raid Redemption burst into the martial arts action scene in 2012 and took both genres by storm. It had been years since anyone had seen such a gritty, brutal martial arts film that pushed the envelope of physical violence and set such a relentless pace that you could hardly breathe between action scenes. So any follow-up to The Raid was going to be judged against one of the few instant classics of the 2010s. But returning director Gareth Evans seemed more than up to the task, and many say he accomplished the most impossible thing to make, an arguably better sequel, while some critics actually say it fell a little bit short. If you missed my first video on The Raid Redemption, click on the link right now and then come back because Raid 2 begins just hours after the first movie ends. The movie begins with Andy, Rama's brother from the first movie, being ambushed and killed by a criminal named Bejo on the orders of corrupt police commissioner Reza to clean up events from the first movie. Rama brings his injured comrade that survived the first movie to Lieutenant Bonawar, along with the corrupt officer Wayu who had betrayed his entire squad in the first film. Bonawar is one of the few officers that his brother Andy said he could trust, and he doesn't play around, and immediately executes Wayu and recruits Rama into investigating the corrupt cops that had gotten his entire squad killed. Rama is tired and exhausted from the events from that first film. He had left his then pregnant wife to join that first raid. He longs to see her, but he knows that the corruption in the police force will not allow him to live in peace. If the corruption is allowed to remain, his wife and newborn would be in constant danger. So Rama mans up again and takes the assignment, going undercover as a criminal named Yuta to investigate the Bangun family, one of the largest syndicates in Jakarta that acts as a go-between between Bejo's growing crime organization and the Japanese Yakuza clan led by Hideki Goto. When you follow up a movie like The Raid Redemption, you are forced to have to ratchet up the action, and we get that immediately when Rama puts himself in a violent prison so he could be next to Bangun's volatile son, Ucho. And for a while, Rama is getting nowhere with Ucho until he saves his life during a violent prison riot that saw one of the messiest but brutal fight scenes you will see in a martial arts movie. For me, this scene was a bit hard to follow with all the mud, but I get the spectacle of a new environment. Ucho was grateful for Rama's assistance and introduced him to his father, Bangun, and Rama begins working for him immediately. And the Raid 2 just ratchets up the intensity from there, as Rama is drawn into the violent Jakarta underworld. Working for Bangun, right-hand man Eka, Rama begins to perform jobs for the Bangun family while gathering evidence for a conviction. However, the more work he does for the Bangun family, Rama begins to understand just how unhinged Ucho truly is. Ucho himself is spoiled, combative, and with a short fuse that often works against his father's agenda to keep both factions from war. Unwilling to stand aside and wait his turn, Ucho begins to work with Bejo to undermine the Yakuza so they can split up their territory as he takes over his father's business. And Bejo has an impressive roster of henchmen at his disposal, which sets the Raid 2 apart from its predecessor. Bejo begins his war with the Yakuza, and we see for the first time the iconic baseball bat man and Hammer Girl. I'm serious, this is their actual screen name and I'm not making it up. These two assassins wield their weapons of choice and perform violent assassinations against the Yakuza targets throughout Jakarta. Bejo's top enforcer, simply named the Assassin, is a skilled martial artist that tries to involve Bangun into the war against the Yakuza by killing his loyal enforcer, Percoso, and blaming it on Goto. However, Bangun refuses to plunge the city into a war with the Yakuza, a decision which only enrages his hot-tempered son Ucho. And our hero Rama is caught within this turmoil, having to navigate between the various factions and remain undercover. The corrupt police commissioner Reza is still on the streets and working behind the scenes, and there are many times it seems like Rama's about to be caught, as events begin to spiral out of control following Percoso's death. After barely surviving an awesome assassination attempt by Reza, Rama arrives back at Bangun's headquarters just in time to see Bejo and Ucho kill his father, Bangun. Rama interferes, saving Eka's life, but is defeated by the assassin, which is actually spectacular to see because Rama has been a beast throughout both films, so you rarely actually see him get beaten. Only fan favorite Mad Dog in the first movie had been able to best him till that point. And I don't want to spoil the rest of this movie because what follows is a spectacular car chase scene that should be studied for its brutality and complexity. And the last act of this film can only be called exhilarating, as Rama finds another level of greatness, like a Super Saiyan level 2 or something. Realizing that nothing is as he was led to believe, Rama had to dig down deep to finally conclude these events that had killed his squad, killed his brother, and kept him away from his wife and child over the years. Rama risks everything at the end of this movie, and your heart will be thumping out of his chest as the violence reaches a crescendo. The fight scenes at the end of this movie are nothing but spectacular, as Gareth Evans ratchets up to splendor. I will have to admit that the final act of this movie is what may have edged the Raid 2 over its predecessor, as it never lets up, riding a wave of energy until it explodes. I can see why there's never been a Raid 3, because it would be difficult to match the characters, story, and ending of the Raid 2. But you tell me in the comments below, have you seen both movies and which one do you think is better? I mean, you really can't go wrong with either movie, but Raid 2 may be a little bit better just because of the awesome characters that it had. But you let me know in the comments. I wanted to remind you about my website, themegacosm.com. This is the best way to get in contact with me and learn the latest updates about the Megacosm universe that I'm writing. And I'm finally proud to announce that I have my novels, Fiasco Adventure and The Eureka available for sale on the website at a discount. If you're not sure if you want to buy the novel just yet, you can also read the first chapter of each of those books on my website for free. So if you're going to go ahead and read the first chapter, you can read it and decide if you actually want to buy the entire novel. I also have links to the articles that I write for Bleeding Fool, and I also have some articles that I write that are just for the website alone. But go ahead and check out themegacosm.com if you want to keep up to date with the Megacosm universe that I'm creating. But that's all I have to say about this. God bless you and keep you. That's it, I'm done.